Welcome into the Los Angeles Lakers Report. I'm Chase Sr., and with the NBA trade deadline right on the horizon, you got to stay up to date with all of the latest news, rumors, signings, and trades surrounding the Los Angeles Lakers, so be sure to subscribe to the Lakers Report. All you got to do is hit that big red button down below. We're inching closer and closer to the NBA trade deadline, so let's get into the latest news and rumors around the Lakers. We kick it off with PJ Tucker. This has been a name who's been rumored to be on the market for the last couple of weeks, and according to Shams, the Rockets are engaged with 3 teams when it comes to PJ Tucker's services. Milwaukee, Miami, and Los Angeles, all interested in the 35-year-old. Now, what would the Rockets like in exchange for the veteran? Preferably a young piece back. Now, the Nets were also rumored to be pursuing PJ Tucker. They, according to reports, offered Spencer Dinwiddie up for him, but then the Nets backed out of that deal. We look at what PJ Tucker has done so far this year. At this point in his career, he's going to be a good veteran presence who can give you a bulky option off the bench in the front court. He can knock down some threes. If you want to go small ball, he can play the 5 as well. So PJ Tucker going to be a valuable asset for any contender that does end up signing him. This is your opportunity to hop on board and join the show. So what do you think about the Lakers' interest in PJ Tucker, and would you want LA to go after him? Hop into the comment section, type Y for yes, and type N for no. Let's transition on to Andre Drummond now. Poor guy hasn't played since early February, and the Cavaliers are steadfast about finding a trade, according to reports. And Shams, once again coming in with the heat, says the Lakers and Nets are the top 2 suitors if Drummond is bought out. That's the key thing to factor and follow here, is if he is indeed bought out, because he could also be a trade candidate. But it's going to be hard for the Cavaliers to trade the big man because he's on an expiring contract worth nearly $29 million. But Andre Drummond, even though he hasn't played in a while, he's going to come in with fresh legs because he's been on that hiatus. He's also going to give any team a double-double night in and night out. 17.5 points. He's going to fill the stat sheet in the rebound column as well. So Andre Drummond, a potential option on the buyout market for the Lakers as we inch closer to the trade deadline. So what is your interest level in Andre Drummond? Hop into the comment section and scale it for me. We're going to do this one on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being, I don't want Andre Drummond at all. 10 being, I am very interested in Andre Drummond. How about some other potential options? But first, this is what the Lakers should do when it comes to Drummond. Take a wait-and-see approach, right? He's on an expiring contract. He's very expensive. You know who the player is, right? But you don't know if the Cavaliers have any value, any flexibility, any type of leverage at all when it comes to Drummond because of his contract. So smart move for the Lakers. Wait and see what happens with him, because if he hits the open market as a free agent and him and the Cavs agree to a buyout, well, there you go. You can get your center, which this team really needs. Let's pivot to some other upgrades on this roster for the Lakers. And according to reports, the Lakers in search of an athletic and defending big man. Sounds like Andre Drummond, right? Well, if they can't land a marquee player like Drummond, it's said that the Lakers are interested in players on the secondary level, like maybe Hassan Whiteside, maybe JaVale McGee, maybe a reunion there. According to Sam Amick of The Athletic, the Lakers could prefer Whiteside over McGee. Interesting, because here are their numbers side to side, very similar players. McGee obviously has some experience with the Lakers on that title run last year, but when you look at their numbers side to side, very similar players. I'd say Hassan Whiteside probably has a little bit more upside. He's averaging more points per game, more rebounds. His field goal percentage is higher as well. JaVale McGee getting more minutes for the Cavs, but Whiteside would be a solid option for the Lakers if they do decide to go that route. So let me ask you, who would you rather have if you're the GM of the Los Angeles Lakers? Is it Hassan Whiteside? If so, type HS. Is it JaVale McGee? If you like him, type JM. Let's get to a potential trade that I kind of configured earlier on today. So in addition to a front court presence, the Lakers also need a shooter. And I think JJ Redick would be an awesome option for this team as a lethal shooter off the bench. I still think he has some left in the tank, so I drew up this trade idea. How about the Lakers go after and acquire JJ Redick for a guy like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope? Now, obviously, Caldwell-Pope, much younger than Redick. Redick has much more veteran experience, but when you look at their numbers side to side, actually, this year, they're pretty similar players. And I actually think Redick would possibly be a better fit for this Lakers team because he's a little bit more consistent than Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. So the numbers side to side, very, very similar. I think Redick could give you a little bit more from beyond the arc, especially when it comes to consistency. But that is a trade that I drew up. Also, here's some other things that I was looking at. Lakers in need of shooting, no doubt, so Redick would fill that need. KCP is under contract through 2022-23. He signed that deal prior to the season after he helped the Lakers win the championship last year. Yes, Redick is 36 years old. KCP is only 28. But the goal for the Lakers this year is to win a title. And who gives you the best opportunity to win a title this year? Yes, LeBron James is playing out of his mind right now, but you don't know how much time he has left. So the goal is to win a title this year, and in my opinion, JJ Redick is the better option. So what do you think of my trade idea? JJ Redick in exchange for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Do you think I'm crazy by putting out a trade like this? If you think I'm crazy, that's fine. Type C for crazy. Or if you think I'm actually really smart, type S for smart. I think I might lean with the latter. Let's get into the latest injury news around Anthony Davis. So, as of Friday, Davis will be sidelined at least 2 more weeks. He was cleared last week to ramp up his activity, which is obviously really important for the Lakers' title hopes as they move forward. And he hasn't played since February 14th because of that calf strain. So, we're approaching and are about at the exact month mark since Anthony Davis last played. Frank Vogel, not worried at all. He said, quote, "Yeah, we're going to be patient. We'll continue to compete and win games, and we'll all be very excited once Anthony Davis is back." Why will the Lakers and Frank Vogel be excited? Because when Anthony Davis is healthy, he's probably the best number 2 all across the association. Numbers down a little bit this year from last year. Injuries a reason for that. I think that shortened offseason has affected this team, and the injury bug has hit them a little bit because of that. But Anthony Davis, obviously a premier player. You don't have to say much. 22.5 points per game, 8.5 rebounds. The guy is incredible. So when Anthony Davis does come back, he's going to bolster this Lakers lineup. And if Anthony Davis is healthy, it's my opinion that the Lakers are the favorites in the Western Conference. For me, patience is the right approach. Remember what happened to Kevin Durant when the Warriors tried to rush him back a couple seasons ago and he was dealing with a similar lingering injury issue? Well, he ended up popping his Achilles. If the Lakers rushed AD back and something similar happened, that would be an absolute disaster. So right now, for Anthony Davis, putting out that 2-week timetable, letting him take his time with his recovery is the right move for Los Angeles. Can LA repeat without Anthony Davis? For me, I'm going to say hell no. So what do you think? Type 1 for yes and type N for no. Let's get to some more injury news surrounding LA. This one, obviously not as significant as Anthony Davis, but Jared Dudley has been diagnosed with a right MCL tear. He is evaluating his treatment options, and the 14-year veteran, he hasn't been a main and key contributor to this team. He's been more of a veteran presence who can provide a culture fit and leadership. He's only played in 11 games this year, so this isn't catastrophic by any means for Los Angeles, but because of the string of injury issues that LA has run into, Jared Dudley was getting some more minutes prior to the All-Star break. This now takes him out of that equation. How about Alex Caruso? And the injury bug continues to bite the Lakers. He left Friday's game against Indiana with a mild concussion, one of those ugly injuries where he dove for a loose ball and kind of snapped his head back and it bounced off the floor, something that kind of gives you headaches if you just watched it. He has been placed in the NBA's concussion protocol, and this isn't considered very serious, but Alex Caruso could miss some time. And with Alex Caruso, his numbers aren't going to jump off the page by any means, but He seems to be a player who's always in the right place at the right time. He gives the Lakers an athletic presence off the bench. He can fill in and get some starts here and there. And Alex Caruso, you saw last year in the playoffs, he was actually pretty solid for this team. So Alex Caruso in the concussion protocol, expected to miss some time, but not a significant amount of time, and the Lakers can't afford any more players to really go down with any severe injuries. Let's check in on Kyle Kuzma now. Kyle Kuzma. He's been an erratic player so far since getting drafted by Los Angeles, and he's had an up and down career. Well, in the last 11 games, Kyle Kuzma's been balling out, and he's caught the attention of some veterans on the Lakers as well as some former players who played in the NBA, Kendrick Perkins being one of them. He tweeted this out the other day: Anthony Davis getting hurt was a blessing in disguise for Kyle Kuzma. The young man has elevated his game on both ends of the floor and is playing some of his best basketball of his career this season. Just saying, though. Well, I think Kendrick Perkins has a point, because in Kyle Kuzma's last 11 games, 9 of which have been without Anthony Davis, here are Kyle Kuzma's numbers. Up from his season averages. 15.4 points per game. How about the rebounds, though? The big thing with Kyle Kuzma is throughout his career, each season, it feels as though he's been inserted into a different role, which has caused him to maybe have some troubles with finding a groove and any form of consistency with the Lakers. This year, he's been asked to be a secondary or a third option, but now, since the Lakers are suffering all these injury issues, he stepped up his game, and I think Kyle Kuzma has been impressive, and if he can play like that over the last 11 games and continue that stretch here on out, Lakers are getting a big bolster off the bench. So I want to ask this question for the audience. Is Kyle Kuzma having a career year? Do you agree with Kendrick Perkins? Type B for ballin'. If you think that Kyle Kuzma has just been okay, all you got to do, hop into the comments section and type O for okay. So the trade deadline is coming up in less than 2 weeks. If you want to stay up to date with all of the latest news surrounding the Lakers, we're talking trades, we're talking signings, the buyout market, any injury issues, follow the Lakers Report on Chat Sports. YouTube.com/LakersTV. Hit that big red button down below and subscribe, because we're pushing out videos on the daily here at Chat Sports. And if in case you missed it, I am new here at Chat Sports, so be sure to give me a follow on Twitter at Chase_Senior.